And that was accepted by the then GOM. It's not happened. So it could ease the problem of training, and you have a discipline law. And the same people that are living in all parts of the country, they could form part of the so-called civil society, and which are helping the state in, not only intelligence, but in tackling some of these issues as they are there.
Ex-servicemen into the Central Armed Police Forces. But the fact is, there is already a 3% or so reservation. 3
some places tap 10%.
3 to 10% reservation for ex-servicemen in the Central Armed Police Forces, and even those vacancies are not filled. Not enough ex-servicemen apply to these vacancies. I'll tell you why. I think the reason is their pensions are attractive. They can go back to their villages or small towns. And there are huge employment opportunities in the private security establishments for these ex-servicemen. So no one wants to join the BSF or the CRPF after serving, say, 12 years in the army. Therefore, while the popular impression is there are thousands of ex-servicemen waiting to join the CAPFs, that's not a fact.
The NSG and the anti-hijack so-called trained people in position in Manesar, what happened on 26/11? A, did we believe that an act of hijack is only going to happen from Delhi airport? Such units, what stopped the government from setting up such hubs before 26/11? A, B, if we did have them in Manesar, did we not think that if an attack happened elsewhere, they would need quick transportation? Why did almost 200 people need to die before the government would think of that eventuality?
Well, I can't really answer a question reached at the airport. It's a fact that they did not have dedicated transport. But those things have been corrected now. There are today hubs in the Delhi airport. There is a hub in Chennai, Kolkata, Mumbai, Hyderabad. A new regional center is being built in Hyderabad. They have aircraft, they have the power to requisition any aircraft belonging to anybody at any airport. Much of that has been corrected. So I can't speak for what went wrong before 26/11. All I can do is acknowledge that there were mistakes and that we are taking steps to correct them. Now, those who want to ask questions must ask questions to Arun.
He can do to Arun. Because having lived in the UK, where we had Irish terrorism, we were all made aware, ordinary citizens were always very, very vigilant about seeing an empty bag, a bag unguarded somewhere, report immediately, or be quite sure to be vigilant in our own behavior about likely terrorism. Now, what it seems to me from reading about the latest attack in Mumbai, that Indian citizens are not particularly aware from day to day that they are going to be subject to many, many terrorist attacks. And how can leaders inculcate in ordinary awareness without spreading alarm? That basically, wherever you go, wherever you walk, be on your guard. Otherwise, the state alone will not get you out of this trouble.
For all of us to realize that we are not that safe a state. That you have various terrorist insurgent groups operating within. There are a large number of soft targets. The security establishment is not present everywhere. And therefore, each one of us also has to compromise on his little liberty or harassment. When you are checked, your right, your duty to be vigilant. And I think most important, substantially to have a convergence of opinion in the society, how to deal with it. And therefore, this is an issue on which we can't have too many discordant voices. In any democratic society, you'll have difference of opinions, but there are large areas. How to deal with the situation in the Maoist insurgent area, how to deal with the situation in Northeast, how to deal with different forms of terrorist activities. I think it's about time that we started talking alike. I remember last year, the Home Minister was leading it, a very large all-party delegation went to Kashmir. Now, even on a subject like that, when we got back and we had a debriefing meeting, there was a substantial convergence. And I think these are different aspects of how the political segment of the society, the civil society, other opinion makers must really now start working on.
And I may add that that substantial convergence contributed greatly to the all-party meeting that was held subsequently, the 8-point program that was announced later, and, touch wood, the very peaceful summer we've had this summer after the over 100 deaths last summer.
So what is your plan to train them to deal with terrorism?
Well, I can deal with facts, I can't deal with perceptions. Yes, like every other organization, there are a certain number of laggards and in the police. But to say that they are incompetent, they are not there, they only guard VIPs, I think is far from the truth. It's simply a... Well, the papers reflect the reader's biases. I don't think it's a fair comment. I think crimes are solved, people are brought to justice. Most days in a year, most places are safe. So I don't think we should be. If you say, yes, you must improve the quality of policing, you must improve the quality of the policemen and the policewomen, you must train them better, you must impart to them better interbehavioral skills, interpersonal skills. All that I agree. But this is the police that we have. This is the paramilitary that we have. And anyone who's familiar with organizational behavior will tell you, you don't run down the very organization that you have and expect them to serve you. You will have to motivate them to do better.
The last question to the lady Gupta is that it totally suspends all skepticism. There is a complete and absolute faith in IB reports, in government reports, because it's based entirely, the Home Minister read out a passage from Kapadia's confession. But that's precisely the problem. It's based on confessions, it's based on charge sheets, right? And so there is no, for a book which calls itself a piece of investigative reporting, I thought it was more, what Mr. Jaitley said, that you're trying to be the foot soldier of the Indian state. And I don't think that's what investigative journalism should be about. Because, on several key points, I'll just give you an example. For example, the Butler House encounter, where you cite the NHRC report and say that even the NHRC said that the Butler House encounter was genuine. But you don't say that the NHRC report was based entirely on the statements of 3 senior policemen of the Delhi police. You don't mention the fact that the post-mortem reports of the deceased boys clearly showed that the police story was fake. That were it to be a genuine encounter, there would have been bullet marks on the.
Is it a question or is
yeah,
it
no, you could take it as a question, you could take it as a comment. I'm sorry, I'm not going to endear myself to this audience, but anyway, I think because I'm not a foot soldier of the Indian state, so I need to ask this question. And the second, you don't mention any of these points. You talk about Mecca Masjid blast, but you don't, you sort of completely ignore the advocate Ravi Chandra report. You ignore the Bhaskar Rao Commission report and so on. And A question for Mr. Chitambram. I know you probably are out of, you've agreed to answer only a couple of questions. But you said that, in Pune was an excusable mistake. But sir, there are so many other excuses.
I didn't say Pune was an excusable mistake, although I still think such mistakes should not happen.
Right.
There was a reason why they made
Right.
that mistake. That's what I said.
Right.
And you generalize it and say,
No,
I said Pune was an excusable mistake.
What I'm saying is there are far too many of these mistakes that are happening. In Makkah Masjid, for instance, there were so many people who've been arrested. There's a whole documentation of people who
Why don't you introduce yourself?
fabricated evidence was forged, and people have spent many years in jail on false charges of being terrorists. Would there be a case, policy of compensation and so on? That's not.
Yes, 4 or 5 cases which are now on re-investigation found to be cases where the terrorist incidents were perpetrated by right-wing extremist groups. The young men who were arrested earlier belonging to the Islamic faith. I have advised the state governments concerned that they should be compensated, rehabilitated. I'm very happy that today some of those Malagon detainees got bail. In fact, there was a problem. They did not want to come out on bail until they got more information because they want to sue the state. I said, you can sue the state, but please come out on bail. I'm glad I've been able to persuade them to come out on bail. Yes, there is a policy, and I will certainly follow up with the state governments to see that boys who've been arrested wrongly, detained wrongly, should be compensated, should be rehabilitated, and should be helped to get on with life.
Shri P. Chidambaram of the Chef India, I would like to thank you all for your patience and for your participation in this discussion and for making it come alive.